Hello all. This is going to be a talk on your upper appendicular. This is your clavicle leading to the scapula. The whole bone is called the scapula. This is the bone marking the spine. This is the acromion process, and this is the coracoid process. Okay, those are the three names you need to know on this entire bone. And so we look at this bone. This next bone is called the humerus bone, and the next two below are going to be your radius and ulna. Your radius, you can always tell, has this circular knob-like structure up top and flatter end, sorry, not knob. And here you can see that the ulna just doesn't look the same. And really the ulna will be responsible for the ability to swivel around the humerus. And so as we progress in a distal direction, then we encounter the carpal bones, then the metacarpal bones, and then every finger has 3 phalanges. You should always start counting from the fingertips. 1, 2, 3. 3 phalanges, except the thumb. The thumb has a metacarpal, and then these two here are going to be phalanges. It's the only one that has only 2 phalanges. And so bone markings we have to know on the humerus are the head, then the greater tubercle and the lesser tubercle. Note the size of the actual width of this bump and then the width of this little bump. The little one is lesser, the greater one is a greater tubercle. And then we progress downwards, and then here we found our neck. And then as we progress down the shaft of this bone, down at the very distal end, we have this little opening where this little metal rod hole has gone through. This is going to be your coronoid fossa. Then underneath it is going to be an hourglass figure. This is going to be your trochlea. This is going to be your capitulum, the little ball that's always going to be a little more lateral to the body, right? Lateral, away from the midline, lateral. And so if we progress back down, here this is going to be your radius, this is your head, and this is your radial tuberosity, which is going to be right underneath the head. If you notice, there's the head and then a little bit of a neck area, and then the radial tuberosity, right there. And so the ulna, its partner, in that forearm area, in the antebrachial area, it has the responsibility of swinging around. And so as we learned in class, that this little C that this ulna makes so that it can swivel, all of this like U shape, right? It has like the U letter in it. It's called a trochlear notch. And doesn't that make sense? That something that's going to rotate around the trochlea, that little the part of the ulna that's rotating is called a trochlear notch. And so this one where my thumb is right now, this is your coronoid process. And so think about this for a second. This one up here was called coronoid fossa. This one is called coronoid process. So a process goes into the fossa. Process goes into the fossa. And also on the other end, right? If we look at the other end in the back, this divot here that you have that looks like a thumbprint space, that's your olecranon fossa. Fossa, right here where my thumb is. And then the ulna, it has an olecranon process. That trochlear notch, the back part of it, the posterior portion of the trochlear notch, when you look at it, this process goes into the fossa. See, as we extend or straighten our limb. That's what it does. The olecranon process fits into the olecranon fossa. And that's the role of the ulna, is to swivel around the trochlea with its trochlear notch. And that trochlear notch is made up of, again, the coronoid process and the olecranon process, which is going to be, again, the one in the back. But together, the coronoid process and the olecranon process together make up the trochlear notch. And so as we progress further down, and on your list, there's a lot of bones, and all these have little names to them, but on your exam, you're just being asked for the carpal bones. So these little tiny pebble-like ones are your carpal bones. These are going to be your metacarpals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in that order. The thumb is number 1. And be careful with the last ones. These are the phalanges. Remember, we have 1, 2, 3. Every finger has 3 phalanges. Always start counting from the fingertips, 1, 2, and 3. But always remember that our pollex, or our thumb, only has 2 phalanges. 1, 2. This is a metacarpal. 1 and 2. Only 2 phalanges. And that's it for the upper limb.